What's going on today, guys? It's GLG James here along with
GLG Dan.
And today we're going to be covering the top 5 best budget decks in the One Piece card game.
Especially coming into the next 08 format. Pre-release is coming right around the corner, so we're going to prep you guys for that. But before we get started, though, shout out to all of our new subscribers. We appreciate all of you. We got around maybe 30 from the past week from the most recent couple videos. Appreciate you guys tuning into those and subscribing. But if you guys are brand new to us, we're Grand Line Gaming. We cover all of the most recent One Piece card game content for you guys.
Before we get started, a huge shout out to Dueling Guard. We've recently become affiliates with them. They can cover all of your, any TCG needs, whether it comes to sleeves, deck boxes, playmats. They got it all, and they're a little flashy too, right?
A little flashy.
Yeah.
They even got custom leaders, so check those out. But remember to use code GLG.
Yep, on checkout, and you'll be able to get 5% off any purchase. All right, so let's jump right in. So getting into it, the first deck I want to talk about is Reiju. Right, RP Law is gone. So as you saw in one of our previous videos, the shackles are gone for Reiju.
The deck is spicy.
Yeah,
it's
scary.
Good. And it's budget.
Absolutely.
So we're doing the research, right? The most expensive cards you're gonna need is the 4-cost Reiju. That's gonna be $4 a pop. Those are an SR. Along with that is the 6-cost Sanji blocker. I know some decks run between maybe 2 to 4 depending on the list. Those are also $4, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty much fairly cheap. The only thing that I know, the German 66 cards that is expensive is the new promo that came with the Sakazuki promo leader. It's the Sanji, the blue card. It's a 2K counter. I know a lot of deck lists run it, and it is a $17 card. However, there's a bunch of different options you can choose from other than not Sanji specifically.
Exactly. I've seen people run the Kaya and just any real generic 2K counter.
Right? The Gion too as well. You
Gion.
saw in GLG Garrett's video that for to combat against Nami. There's a bunch of 2Ks out there that you can use that you don't need to invest that $17, let alone about $60, $70 for a playset of. So with the deck itself, it's fairly cheap. What about it going into the meta though? It's good. I don't know if you've seen it play against Black before, but it has a really good matchup, whether or not you're running the Porsche build or not. Playing Ichiji on curve on 4 Dawn in a 7-cost body, your opponent's not removing it. It's just too tall, it's too big, it's going to stay on board all game long.
Not to mention, it topped. It literally just topped a regional, I believe. So,
oh yeah, that too.
Yeah. So I mean, if it can do that, and that deck, I don't even know what cards was running that were that expensive. So,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think if you looked at the entirety of that deck, I think it was maybe like 70, if that, and I think it's because they had alts or something along those lines. So I mean, it's a great deck. I mean, you see it topping at the highest of levels.
And even before when Red Purple Law was meta, it would top here and there too. That just goes to show you how strong the deck is though. So really look out to purchase those cards. A lot of stuff is bulk. Hit up your locals. They probably have majority of the cards for you. And hit up your local members as well. They're probably going to have some of the bulk cards along with it. Now going to the next deck that is budget as well is Nami. This deck got a huge buff in going into even this set 7 and now going into 8 with post ban list without Red Purple Law now in the format. I know GLG James knows a lot about that matchup specifically, but it was so difficult for them.
Yeah, and it's a great deck. I mean, people get so frustrated. It takes a special type of gameplay to beat it. Right, it does take a special kind of mind to kind of learn the deck itself, because it does play so much differently than every other deck. But it's a great option. You're gonna win plenty of games with it.
Exactly.
As well as it's budget. You're gonna be winning it with it not being that expensive a card. What's the most expensive card on that list?
Probably Sanji's Pilaf, $5, $6 maybe. The rest is all cents. You can get it. Oh, and then I think Love Mellow as well. I think that one's also maybe $4 to $6. But other than that, though, it's just those 8 cards that you run. The rest is fairly cheap. It's all bulk for the most part. The deck is good. If your opponent doesn't know how to play against Nami, they're going to have a hard time. And even if they do know how to play against Nami, people still have a hard time. Obviously, not a huge fan of playing against Nami, but, it's a good deck going into the next
Nonetheless,
set. Yeah, nonetheless, you gotta give it, its credit. It's a good deck.
Give it its flowers.
Give it its flowers. There you go. Yeah, it deserves it. It's a good one. It's a good one.
But along with that too, I mean, the newest package with it, the Kuja Pirate stuff, that all came out in the most recent set, so it's very accessible. Definitely something you can find in the bulk.
Exactly.
Easily.
Easy bulk. It's a lot of commons, and you don't need to alt out every single deck out there, guys. Right?
I don't even know if you can for that deck.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of cards out there.
I don't know. Yeah. Next up, a deck that's near and dear to GLG Money's heart, Dofi. As good as that deck is, the fact that that's budget is just astounding to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
It's not as budget as these other decks are, like the Reiju and the Nami we've already talked about before. Yeah. But all the cards are under $5. Is there a lot of cards that are worth a couple dollars here and there, like the Jinbei, the Weevil, and the Kaido as well? If you're running the Kaido, yes, it's going to be a little bit, but for the most part, though, there's nothing over that $5 mark, let alone $10 mark. It's a great deck, especially going into this next format. It still has a rough matchup into Lucci even post ban of the stage, but it's nonetheless great against Bonnie, which is going to be something that's going to be popular. Great against Black Yellow Luffy, great deck too as well. You'll see a lot of those players come up, and so Dofi just has good matchups into those.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, you invest in all those cards, you basically also build Boa.
Yeah.
Right?
As a side note,
it's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a great deck. You have access to Gravity Blade, and not just that too. In 8.5, when the starter decks come out, it gets even better. Man. Great deck to invest in now. The starter decks are going to be $10 a pop. All you need is 2 more. Exactly. So you just get the deck now for whatever price it's at, and then catch the 2 starter decks later on. It's going to be a great deck from here on out. It's so good.
Yeah, and not to mention, that's a tier 1 deck. You know, we're seeing in Japan that deck is topping left and right.
Exactly.
So if you invest now in it, like GLG Dan said, the most expensive cards are around $5. There are multiple of them, but technically it's like a 2-for-1. You're also building Boa.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And if you don't like Dofi, you play Boa instead. Yeah.
And if you really want it, you have a universal package that could be used in multiple decks, right?
Exactly.
That 7 Warlord package can be used in any blue deck.
Good.
It's so generic and it's so good. And next on the list, we got a deck that I personally really like.
And I think it's pretty underrated. I didn't believe it at first, didn't trust it when we were putting it on the list, but I see the reasoning why.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so cheap, and it's still like a very competitive deck, and that's Dragon from 07.
Lucky Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, it uses the Rev Army package. It uses the Karasu, which is a very good card.
Very good card. Leader locked to Rev Army only. On play, minus 1,000 from any character leader. You get 2 of those out, that's minus 2,000 from a leader. They're a 5K, they're a 3K leader.
Yeah, and then also when attacking. So you get to kind of recycle that ability.
Exactly.
Again. Yeah. And just swinging into that, there's so much value off that.
All that Rev Army cards, those are all pretty much bulk for the most part. The only SR you would need is the Dragons and then the Koalas if you want to run those. And the Dragons are $2, and I think the Koalas are less than $1. Yeah. It's so cheap. It's a cheap package to invest in. I know there's more support coming out for more Rev Army stuff in the future for Bello Betty and Red Yellow Sabo. So if you're interested in Dragon, you can also invest in some of those decks too at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And also too with that, the Kid Killer. That's another great card.
Great card.
A very great generic card to have. Just good red card to have in general.
Almost a free 4/7. It's insane. And as a rush character, it catches everyone off guard. They don't know if you have it in your hand or not. It's just one of your best rush decks in the game right now.
Absolutely. Paired with the 2-cost Luffy too as well.
Yeah, 2-cost
Being
Luffy.
able to attach 2 Rested Dawn and then being able to use that Rested Dawn that you attached over to something else using the leader ability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially without the red purple law in the meta and Lucci kind of being stunned up by the stage. I still think Lucci will still have his merit. It will still have the matchup in against Dragon, but I do think now with Red Purple Law gone, that's just another deck that has a lot of removal that's no longer in the format, and so now it's Dragon's time to shine.
Yeah, exactly, and it's so cheap. It's also like one of the fastest decks now that RP Law is gone.
Exactly. All right, guys. So for our last deck, for our 5th and final deck for most budget decks in the format, surprisingly budget now. Back in the day, it was not, and I think it's slept on. Everyone forgot about it. It's Red Green Law. And you guys know I love Red Green Law. We have a bunch of Red Green Law videos on the channel. And so I think now all the cards are about less than $5, which is crazy to me. Zoro back in the day, Rush Zoro. I don't know if you guys were playing during that time frame, but it was a $20 card.
Yep.
I bought mine for $18, and I bought a playset for 18 to 15. It was a devastating blow, but now that they have the reprints for that, even the Blocker Law, which used to be a $25 card, all the way up to sitting at 18 for a while. It's $3. I just looked it up. I almost died on the inside a little bit. It's $3. It's crazy. The Rush Luffy's, those are all cheap. Probably the only card I just remember now is the Cavendish. That'd probably be the only thing you need to, on a little bit of bigger of an investment. It's about $15 now, but honestly, you only really need 2. You can play with 2 minimum. Obviously, ideally it's 3, but if you can have access to 2, $30 isn't that much. It's a really good card in the deck. Now that Red Purple Law is gone, one of his biggest offenders, man, the one thing that kind of kept it in the ground for the most part, it now has its time to shine a little bit. It has a good matchup into Black Yellow Luffy, good matchup into Bonnie, and it's 50-50 with blue decks like Blue Dofi. But I'm pretty sure it's really good against Boa Hancock, though. So I'm pretty excited about this one.
And not to mention, too, those cards are all in the red and green starter decks. And a lot of stores have been seeing, I don't know where you guys are at, have been selling them again. They've restocked them.
Yeah. So it's easy access to it all now. It's great. We love it. I'm a big fan of it. I'm hoping more people start playing Red Green Law a little bit. The skill on the deck there's a learning curve to it, definitely. But if you really take some time and check out some of our videos online, take a look at the Red Green Law deck and kind of how it plays. It's super intricate. No other deck plays like it. That's why it was so popular back in the day before Sakazuki came out and put it in his grave. But really excited about that though, definitely.
And honorable mentions. One that we have written down is Zoo Zoro. I think it's going to be a really good deck. Not really sure just yet. Hasn't really proved the test of time. But yeah.
Yeah, but this format, there's no Red Purple Law, no Stage Lucci. I'm excited. The deck it's pretty cheesy, but it's pretty cool with all the new Animal Kingdom support is getting the next set. Who would have thought? Zoo Zoro. Crazy deck.
Coming back out, and we'll see. It's just Zoro using the animal package that comes out in OP08,
and that's just gonna be bulk.
Yeah, just being able to
it's
spam
bulk.
on.
All the old cards that came out prior to bulk, pretty much. You can get them for super cheap. It's pretty affordable.
Yeah, I think the most expensive card out of 08 that's going into the deck though may be that Chopper. We'll see what kind of price tag it may have on it. Pre-release prices are gonna be probably around $15, maybe $20.
Exactly.
But when you wait a week. Wait
2 weeks.
Wait 2 weeks.
$2 card.
Exactly.
Easy. It's not going to be played in any other deck but Zoo Zoro. So
exactly.
We'll see how that does, though. Definitely. Hope you guys enjoy the video. That's our top 5 listing for the top 5 best budget decks going into OP08. We got some deck profiles coming up on our way, and then along with that, we have some live streams set up. We actually have a multi-store tournament live stream in the works, maybe set for September 14th or so. But really excited for that, though, definitely. But as always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. Grandma Gaming out.